Partner requested to invite their ex-fiancée, who disrespected me and made me feel insignificant, to our wedding. I want to start off with saying that I'm not sure if I've loved anyone quite this much before, and I have been married before. But never felt this type of compatibility and connection before, until all that came crashing down a couple weeks ago. My partner is friends with almost all of their exes, and I'm totally okay with it because I'm not a crazy jealous psycho and they have all been nothing but very nice and respectful to me, super friendly, and they all have their own partners and lives figured out, apart from my partner's ex-fiancée. They were together for almost 10 years but never got married due to some family drama from the ex-fiancée's side. My partner has gone on to say and reiterate a couple times that they were so in love, so into each other, and would have still been together if it wasn't for this particular family drama. They also broke up almost 3 years before we got together, however they were still sleeping together that whole time, up until a month before my partner met me. This already rang alarm bells when I heard it, but I shrug it off because I thought it was my past experiences and traumas talking through me, and not common sense. I try to be very mindful of giving people their own space, and letting them be themselves fully, speak how they want and be authentic. However, I would still be with my ex if not for this one thing is not pleasant to hear, but I figured they just had a super strong loving bond and okay, I moved on. I never made any problems out of them being friends. I even tried a few times to reach out to this ex myself to become friendly. I sent them a couple of memes and tried to strike up small talk a few times on my own initiative, but they've always been super weird with me, making strange flirty comments to my partner when they've been speaking on the phone, for example, or being condescending about me and my family. I don't want to go too much into detail about what they said to not make myself identifiable, but I gave them grace and 3 chances to become friends. They blew them all by completely disrespecting me and my relationship. This ex even implied that they talk with my partner secretly when I'm at work, probably to get a reaction out of me to see if I'll bite. I blocked them everywhere. My partner knows this, but I'm okay with them still being friends if that's what my partner wants. I'm cool with it as long as I don't have to be forced to be friends with this ex, because I have no reason to want to do that after how they treated me. My partner said they understand and were cool with that. They said they don't want to choose my friends for me just like they wouldn't want me choosing theirs. Fair. Anytime they speak on the phone they run to the other side of the garden, start wandering aimlessly to get away from me. It seems avoidant, like they don't want me to hear them talking, and I was okay with that too. Everyone has a right to private conversations. I get it. Okay, maybe I stopped being super enthusiastic about this person, and stopped asking how is so-and-so? After they spoke on the phone or whatever, stopped wanting to become acquainted, however still remained completely civil. Said hi when I had the chance, was polite as required. All was great until the final blow came. My partner asked me if they could invite their ex-fiancée to our wedding. I was shocked and couldn't answer. I said I would think about it, but I'm honestly so fucking hurt that they would even ask me that, knowing I have their ex blocked and knowing how they disrespected me and made me feel like an outsider in our own relationship. I'm absolutely gutted. What makes it even worse is the way they phrased it. I would love to invite ex to our wedding. They're my friend and I have a sentiment towards them. I will completely understand if you don't want them there, and I will absolutely respect that decision, but I would like them to come. At first I was sad and enraged. If you will completely understand and respect that I don't want them there, then you've just answered your own question, have you not? I feel like a deer in the headlights. This has completely killed my excitement for the wedding, and it's made it hard to even think about. In previous relationships my boundaries were violated to quite an extreme extent, and my partner knows this. The wedding I had before was a sham. It wasn't mine, wasn't how I wanted. I had to compromise a lot and do things in spite of myself back then. It was awful, not only the wedding but the whole marriage. Both me and my ex contributed to that fact. I've taken full accountability for my part in it, and I've gone through extensive psychotherapy to learn to love myself again and set healthy boundaries, speak up for myself and be assertive, among other things. I've been in that healthy space for over 3 years now. However, after hearing that question I feel like I've taken 100 steps back, and the ache is so deep it's giving me cold feet about the whole wedding. I feel small and insignificant, like an afterthought, a plaster for an ache of an unrequited love, like a fucking second choice. I love my partner completely and I want them to be happy. That's why I think if they really want their ex to be there and it means a lot to them, then they should be able to do that. However, I also love myself and want to put my peace and well-being first, so I'm totally stuck. On one hand I think I have a right to feel how I feel, on the other hand I don't want to seem totally unreasonable. I'm not and never have been the type to give anyone ultimatums. I would never say it's either me or them, but at this point I don't think I can do it. Any advice would be greatly appreciated, and if I get none, at least it feels good to write it down and get it off my chest to process it before I ultimately have to talk to my partner about it. I don't want to lose them, but I also don't want to lose myself again in the name of love. I'm happy to never get married again if that's what it takes to keep myself and my boundaries intact. I'm done being a pushover. Am I the asshole? Update 1. I mustered up the courage to speak to my fiancé today, after all of your heartfelt comments, all the great advice and encouragement, even in the form of harsh cold truths. Therefore, I have to start by saying a massive thank you to everyone who contributed something to the post. It validated my feelings and helped me not feel so alone with my thoughts. I appreciate every single one of you. I couldn't sleep last night after reading a few of your comments. They were very hard-hitting and made me reconsider not only my behavior and thought patterns, but my values as well. Because although I had strong moral values, I was not upholding them at all by not speaking up for myself. That changed today. I woke up and knew that I couldn't hold it longer and had to let it flow out naturally, just like in my original post. I mentioned the disrespect, the lack of communication between me and the ex despite my previous gentle efforts, the stupid, flirtatious and jealous jokes from her. I laid it all out on the table. My voice was shaking, but I got out everything I needed to get off my chest and then some. In the heat of the moment I even concluded with "I love you so much that I want you to have the wedding of your dreams. I already had one that wasn't mine, I know how much that sucks, and I wouldn't want to wish it on you. That's why if it means that much to you for her to be at the wedding, then I'm willing to set you free and hope y'all have a very lovely celebration without me." Of course I ended up shedding a few tears, but they were met with complete consolation, consideration and empathy. I was reassured, comforted and I felt heard. Which is what I desperately needed. As many of you correctly pointed out in the comments, I'm someone that always wants to be the most accommodating to the people I love. Sometimes even to my own detriment, which I was able to recognize again through this situation. It's something I worked through in therapy before, thought I succeeded, but healing isn't linear and sometimes old patterns creep back when we feel the most vulnerable. I can fully admit this happened. My fiancée asked me why I never made it obvious that I don't like her. Why I acted so cool about it. To tell you all the truth, my partner is right. I didn't overly let it show that I don't like her other than blocking her everywhere. Partner claims they didn't realize I still had her blocked and thought I didn't, because I didn't act like I hate her, out of respect for my partner. But in that way I disrespected myself and my own boundaries. I was honest in my reply: if she's your friend, and you guys are cool, and I love you and want you to be happy, then why would I hate on your friend to your face? My fiancé looked at me completely puzzled and said, "Well, because you're the most important person to me, and how you feel is my absolute priority. I didn't realize you were so uncomfortable with her. I'm so sorry I didn't see it and was oblivious. I will do absolutely anything for you to feel like you're number one, because you are. She will not attend our wedding, she won't be in the picture. I love you." They also questioned me on why I didn't react straight away when the question about her attending was asked. Why I didn't just burst out with "Are you kidding me right now?" And I explained that I wanted to think it through. I wanted so badly for it to be okay, but it just isn't, and I don't want her at the wedding. I can't have someone present that I feel holds animosity towards me and our relationship. I have too much respect for myself. The reply I got made me very happy. I totally understand that and I agree with you. I get it, and I'm sorry. But next time please just don't bottle anything in, I want you to feel safe. About the phone calls? My partner didn't want to bore me with the ex's crap, trivial small talk and her complaining about stuff. I want to believe it, it seemed very genuine, but I'm still giving it time. And for those wondering about if the wedding plans are commencing, they aren't for now, but may again in the future if all goes well. I've decided words aren't enough, and I want to see all of this in action. I want to see clear boundaries put up with the ex. This was the only thing in our relationship that made me uncomfortable, her being so out of touch, lacking decorum and disrespecting our union, and my partner, being so oblivious to it. They even said her stupid jokes fell on deaf ears because it was obvious that she was just being jealous and bitter, because she hasn't found anyone yet, and can see we are very happy together and have a lot more in common than they ever did. My partner apparently found her jokes quite pathetic, and said she always was a bit rude and tactless, which is something they never liked about her. Sounds a lot different than we'd still be together if it wasn't for her crazy overbearing mother, but alas, I'm giving it a chance. Lesson to take away from this situation for me: continue working on assertiveness and speaking up. This is a gradual process. Don't bottle things in. That doesn't mean burst out into flames every time an uncomfortable feeling arises, but sit with it for a moment and let it be heard. Always speak your truth no matter the outcome, and if no change is made and the ex reappears with a vengeance, they can have each other. For now we're gonna take things easy while we work on patching up this wedge and rebuilding trust. If my partner puts their money where their mouth is, I'm confident we can make this work. And who knows, in a few years once the ex is happily married too and everyone knows their place, maybe we can all laugh about this together at a summer barbecue. Maybe not. Update 2. It started 2 days after my last post. After an unexpectedly calm 2 days where my partner and I did the emotional equivalent of gentle yoga, low intensity, but were both covered in spiritual sweat, I'd finally exhaled and started to feel actually excited to have dinner with friends at a new Italian place downtown. No wedding talk, no ex talk, just carbs. The food was great. The vibe was perfect. Until I got home and found a handwritten letter stuffed under our front door. I know what you're thinking, and yes, it was from the ex-fiancée. I honestly had a weird out-of-body moment just reading the envelope, as if I'd walked in on a soap opera accidentally. I took it inside and, after staring at it for a good hour with a glass of wine, finally slid it open. Cue several pages, handwritten, in actual fountain pen ink, telling me I had it all wrong. Telling me about everything she and my partner supposedly went through that no one else could ever understand, subtly, and not so subtly, implying I'm not worthy because our relationship is somehow less storied, less meaningful, less whatever. Oh, and a few lines about how she hopes our wedding is lovely and free of jealousy, with so much passive-aggressive underlining I thought the pen would bleed through the page. The oddest and most disarming part, though, was the middle section. A real twist. She admitted outright that she'd been rude to me, then said it was because she was still working through grief but ultimately respects the life we've built. This wasn't an apology, not really. More like a weird power play where she wanted to look magnanimous while also making sure I knew she was the center of the narrative. The letter closed with, "I hope you can forgive me. I hope you both find closure," which felt like being handed a grenade wrapped in a bow. I sat there in stunned silence, and then did what any rational adult would do. I snapped a pic, sent it to my partner, and wrote, "Do you want to read this in person or after you get home?" He immediately called. We argued some, but also, surprisingly, laughed a little. He apologized, again, swore he hasn't heard from her since our last conversation. Said he was pissed she breached our space. And then he did something I wasn't expecting, asked to call her, with me on the line, and ask her to stay out of our relationship once and for all. So we did. And wow, if you ever want to know what emotional whiplash feels like, try listening to someone attempt to manipulate your boundaries while you sit right there. She was all sugar at first, pretending she didn't know I was listening, then switched to martyrdom, and finally, after he calmly held his ground, "You're making my fiancée feel unwelcome in her own home, and that's not okay. We're not in contact anymore," she actually said. "If that's what you want, I'll disappear, but don't come running back when it falls apart." It was simultaneously chilling and pathetic. We hung up. I felt weirdly lighter, but also shaky, like I just exorcised a poltergeist. My partner hugged me, apologized repeatedly, and, most shocking to me, said he wanted to invite my best friend, who lives in another country and, until now, hadn't been able to make the hypothetical wedding, to visit us, just because we need more supportive energy right now. That felt good. The next day, I messaged the ex via email, kept it short and clinical. "Received your letter. I don't wish to continue contact. Please respect that." Blocked her number, for good measure. We also, and this is perhaps a bit extreme, but honestly, safety first, installed a new Ring camera and changed the code on our door. But the universe wasn't done. 2 evenings later, last night, in fact, my partner's oldest mutual friend, who is also, surprise, the ex-fiancée's cousin, reached out. Apparently, the ex has left the city. Turned out she'd packed up, found a new job, and moved overnight, with a single text blast to her entire friends group reading, "Sometimes you have to let go to start again." Kid you not. The drama is exhausting and incredible. This has left my partner a bit melancholy, for reasons that are probably half grief for a lost decade-long friendship, half embarrassment over what that chapter of his life had become. I was braced for more awkwardness, but honestly there's been nothing but relief, openness, and more affection and transparency than I felt in the last 2 months combined. He even started therapy, his own choice, no prompting from me, said he wants to be the partner I keep saying I want to be. So, yeah. That's the update. The wedding is no longer the focus. Weirdly, it feels like we've just gotten married in the truest way possible, facing chaos and coming out closer, not just together but on the same side for the first time in ages. We're making plans for a long weekend away, just us, no wedding Pinterest boards, no seating arrangements, no passive-aggressive ghosts haunting the corners. We haven't made any decisions about a new date, venue, or whether we'll even do something traditional at all. What we do know is that we're in this together, as messy, imperfect, and hilarious as it sometimes is. And if this all sounds like I've gone from agony to romance novel in a single update, trust me, I'm still scanning every handwritten envelope with suspicion. But at least I'm doing it with someone who wants to face the mailbox with me. Update 3. If you told me a month ago that the words Ring camera footage and barefoot tarmac dash would become part of my wedding lexicon, I would have laughed. I'd have said, I'm not that type of main character. But here we are, life cranking up the dial from medium-grade reality show to something between a Nora Ephron rom-com and the pilot episode of a new HBO tragicomedy. Let me rewind. For the first time in what feels like a century, the house has been totally silent. No more cryptic envelopes, no weird phone vibrations late at night, or at least none that weren't because someone needed to see if those Costco socks were back in stock. Just me, my fiancé, and the gentle hum of domestic recalibration. We both noticed the change. It's almost eerie, the way real peace feels after months of emotional fire drills. It only took 2 days for something notable to happen. My best friend Gabby from Ireland, yes, that Gabby, the one who lives for a bit of chaos, slid into my DMs with a screenshot, a Facebook post from the ex-fiancé, newly minted profile set to public. The headline? "Goodbye to the city that taught me everything." She's posing by a moving van, flanked by a gaggle of friends I don't recognize, hair freshly chopped, signature outfit exchanged for something very just astrology things. The post is lightly poetic, a little dramatic, typical ex, but what stands out is the string of comments from mutual friends. First, confusion, wait, what? Then, announcement level concern, you didn't even say goodbye. Someone named Tomash, I suspect the new workplace bestie, commented, to beginnings no one else can write for you. Listen, even I'll admit that's a halfway decent line. Gabby, always my agent of chaos, immediately said, bet she'll reach out again, she's addicted to drama. I shrugged and poured us both a whiskey over FaceTime, but the dread was real. Later that night, I caught my partner scrolling her post, staring at the old inside jokes flying in the comments. I braced for another wave of sad nostalgia, but instead, he set the phone down, leaned in, and just asked, "What song would you choose for the first dance if you could play anything? No rules?" The relief was so overwhelming I almost started crying into my stir-fry. The next level, Ring camera espionage, but then, because nothing can stay normal for long, our new best friend, the Ring doorbell, dinged at 3:21 a.m. Normally, we'd ignore it, except this was the third night in a row it caught movement. The first two times, it was a neighborhood cat with ambitions in interpretative dance. This time, the video showed someone, hood up, small backpack, leaving what looked like a small box at our front steps and then sprinting away, barefoot. We watched it on double speed, jaws dropped, as the stranger nearly wiped out on the dewy grass. I wanted to dismiss it as random. But the next morning, the box, small, tied in an actual ribbon, for God's sake, was still there. We opened it expecting the usual horror movie fare, creepy doll, passive-aggressive monogrammed hand towels, ransom, notes. But instead, it was a collection of old photographs. All of them were clearly from way before I ever entered the picture, my partner and the ex in their 20s, a group trip to the seaside, a couple staged funny face selfies, and, of all things, an origami crane with "Let Go, Let Live" written under one wing. There was a note. No one's story is ever entirely past, but it doesn't have to be your present. Thank you for loving him. Be kind to each other, X. We stared at it a while, completely stunned. I waited for my partner to freak out or reminisce. Instead, he said, "Maybe that's closure." Or as close as she can get to it. I nodded, and for the first time honestly felt a little sad for her. She used to be his entire history, and now she's a footnote on the Ring app and some faded photos. Healing, or how I stopped worrying and started living since then. It feels like a crowbar has lifted a previously immovable emotional door. My partner's been more present than ever, actively inviting me to vent about work, insisting we go out for dumplings, letting my weirdest playlist run through dinner. The little things that felt fraught before, text tones, missing socks, half-mumbled stories, have returned to being just life. But it hasn't all been healing crystals and eat, pray, love. Mutual friends are swirling. One of my own called to gossip, "Did you hear she moved to Lisbon?" While another mutual texted my partner, hoping to hear his side because, apparently, the ex is writing her own account. I nearly spat coffee everywhere. Her account? I asked. Like, a TikTok series? Jokingly. Or? He rolled his eyes, snapped his phone closed, looked me dead in the eyes, and said, "Let's just write our own story for once." Seriously. So we did something a bit wild. We picked a random Friday, ordered pizza, and wound up at City Hall, just to look, not to book. On the ride there, he squeezed my hand so hard I couldn't feel my fingers, and we both giggled like absolute idiots at the seriousness of it all. Once inside, the clerk waved hello, and suddenly we were talking about elopement packages, weekday time slots, and whether you could bring a dog as a witness. Yes, apparently, city rules are wild. That night, we sat awake in bed and murmured, maybe it matters less who's not in the room, and more who is. I don't know where this new chapter ends. Maybe the ex will always linger in some algorithmic shadow or overheard friend story. But for now, we're making shapes out of the little ordinary moments and, as cheesy as it sounds, learning to be happy that the drama is finally someone else's headline. In short, no new wedding date, just yet. Maybe just a picnic, maybe one big karaoke party. What I do know is that my partner and I are on the same page, pen in hand, finally writing our own lines, for real, messy, a little bit scarred, and a whole lot hilarious. Update 4. It all kicked off 2 days after our spontaneous City Hall reconnaissance mission. The mood in the house was still weirdly light, like post-storm blue sky. We were sharing playlists, researching rescue greyhounds, and actually giggling about wedding horror memes instead of living them. But, reader, drama has a way of finding our address, even with the locks changed. I come home from work, arms full of groceries, phone blowing up with work notifications, when I find my partner pacing in the hallway holding a glossy, very official-looking envelope. I see the return address, not the ex. No. It's a well-known wedding publication, the kind with passive-aggressive advice columns and tastefully posed couples running in fields. My first thought is, junk mail, right? But no. He wordlessly hands it over. Inside, an invitation to be featured in a series they call Modern Love, Modern Families, Navigating New Traditions. What? I think it's a prank until I catch the one-line pitch. We're inspired by your modern story, a blended circle, a public airing, and a triumph of love over adversity. Would you allow us to interview you, and possibly key figures in your journey, for a multi-part feature? And, yep, the ex's name is specifically mentioned as a potential interview subject for contrast. I'm not sure if I want to laugh, cry, or buy blackout curtains for all the windows. Meanwhile, my partner is already visibly spiraling. How the hell do they even know? Is this Gabby? Oh God, does my mother read this magazine? I'm torn between humiliation and strange awe at how, in a world of 8 billion people, my relationship somehow ended up someone's story pitch. For a solid 30 minutes we just stare at the email that accompanied the invitation, then at each other, then back at the takeout menu, because why would I cook at a time like this? We eventually land on absolutely not for the magazine, but the real kicker comes when the ex, apparently tipped off the very same day, posts a cryptic Instagram story about finally getting her story told, unfiltered. My phone lights up with a text from Gabby. Is she selling your story to the Times? I wish I was exaggerating, once the laughter dies down, because at this point, it's just survival comedy. My partner and I sit on the floor with pizza and make a list of things about our story no one else can possibly know. The Spotify playlists, the inside jokes, the mean-spirited but actually hilarious doodles on our shared grocery app, the look he gives me over coffee when the dog does the world's biggest stretch. Suddenly, it's clear, the best parts were always invisible to everyone else. But alas, public drama has a ripple effect. Within 48 hours, my partner's aunt calls, alarmed. She saw the ex's Instagram and wants the real story. My dad texts me a cryptic "everything okay at home?" No matter how many boundaries we set, the grapevine always has a leak. Here comes the twist. Out of the blue, I get a private message from Tomas. Yes, the poetic comment lever from the ex's Lisbon post. Turns out, he's seen the post, heard the rumors, and, get this, wants to apologize for his role in the drama. Says he actually convinced the ex to send us the origami/photo box because he thought it might help. Apparently, she's attending therapy, she's letting go, and he's happy for us. The weirdest part? He asks if we might someday talk, for closure. Like we're some real-life reality show couple whose arc needs an epilogue. Now, I'd normally say hell no to this, but my partner, maybe feeling grown up, maybe just tired, goes, you know what? I want to close this circle for good. So, we agree to a video call, with Tomas and the ex. International time zones be damned. It's awkward, of course. The ex looks softer. Less sharp at the edges, new haircut, no more dramatic eyeliner. She mostly listens. Tomas does the talking, how cycles of hurt can last, how he pushed her to package her grief, how he's relieved to see us together. The ex does say one thing: we're all more than our worst years. Thanks for letting me go. No poetry, no weird jokes. It's the closest thing to peace I've seen. After we end the call, my partner and I collapse together on the couch, shell-shocked, but in that really, truly empty way. Not numb, but done. Let's do it, he suddenly says. Let's get married. Just us. No more drama, no plus ones, no stories, no magazines. Just some witnesses and whoever wants to be there for us. It's so simple it feels radical. So, this Friday, we're getting married. In the dumb little city hall room with no theme but finally. Gabby's flying in, my parents are zooming in with a snapshot of our dog in a bow tie as their digital avatar. We're having dim sum after, then karaoke. No first dance, but we're letting my partner's aunt sing. I've had the time of my life at the restaurant. Our vows are short, silly, private. The crazy part is, despite the whiplash, I'm calm. No, not just calm. Joyful. The last, strangest leg of this journey gave me exactly what I always wanted, a chance to belong at the heart of my own life, to choose myself and have someone choose me right back, in the mess and out of it. If the first draft of this story belonged to someone else, family drama, grand exes, whispered secrets, this one is all ours. It's not magazine-worthy, TikTokable, or the stuff of passive-aggressive wedding features. It's just true, and real, and, for the first time, completely and entirely enough.